In comic book mythology, an origin story is an account that reveals how a character gained their powers and the circumstances under which they became a protagonist or antagonist. In nerd culture, every person has an origin story that set them on the path of being a lifelong nerd. These are their stories.
Joshua Michelle Winter, you have been accused of not being a nerd. What do you have to say for yourself?
No one has ever accused me of not being a nerd.
Okay, you can address the Michelle thing. Let's
let it slide.
Okay.
That was his middle name.
Yes. So welcome back to Eat Sleep Nerd, our nerdy origin stories mini-series where we go around the hosting table to get the facts and check the details and get the story behind what makes all of us a nerd. This one is all about Josh. Middle name, not Michelle. So, Joshua, my brother. We have our detectives here. We have Nick Murphy. We have Christian James. I'm your dorky DJ, Corey Winter. So, Josh.
Missed the opportunity to say dorky detective.
Aw. Have you guys never let me? Come on.
I've only been
Never
here for 2
once
days.
thought about it.
Not one time.
Exhibit A. Expert in alliteration. It's pretty nerdy.
Expert.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's pretty solid. Expert.
All right. So, this is already going off rails. So, Josh, we're just going to dive right in.
Dive on in.
So, first question. What makes you a nerd? What do you nerd out on?
Nerd out on lots of things. I like superheroes.
Which ones?
I like turtles.
All of them.
No, like
all
I like
superheroes.
those.
like in general, equal opportunity. Until they mess it up. Let's see here. Warhammer. I'm actually covered in paint because I was Warhammering before I came over here, and a lot of it's hard to get off.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not that hard. It's acrylic, but anywho. I used to read a lot. I don't do it as much anymore, but I miss reading, so it still counts.
Okay.
It does.
I don't know if-
Totes.
What do you read? Or what
Well,
have you read?
I was gonna say nothing anymore.
It's already falling apart.
One of my favorites is the Dark Tower series from Stephen King. That was cool until it got really weird, but then he kind of brought it back at the end. It wasn't super weird until the characters had to come save Stephen King while he was writing the story. Cocaine.
That is pretty weird.
I read every single Animorphs book.
Okay, that's pretty nerdy.
Every single one of them,
And watched
including the
TV show.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
I did. I watched both seasons
It was only 2 seasons.
of the television show. Yeah, it was super expensive and literally no one was watching it.
I'd imagine those books being the exact same.
They were. It broke my heart when I found out what a ghostwriter was and that 90% of that was ghostwritten. Yeah, apparently she only wrote like every 10th book, but she would do the outline and then hand it to someone else. But yeah, just this happens.
I mean,
Do this.
it's making you money.
Capitalism.
I've read all the John Grishams.
Every John Grissom. Are
Pretty
there, like,
sure.
200 of them.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I've read most of the Tom Clancy's.
Also ghostwritten.
Well, some of them.
He's dead.
Once he
They're
started
still
getting
writing
big.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's
Wow.
Tom Clancy's blank by whoever. Like, they're not hiding it. All the original James Bond books. Those were good.
I don't think I knew those were books.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Well, I just figured it was a character. Like people come up with movie characters all the time. Who cares?
I actually enjoyed most of the school reading stuff. Animal Farm slapped. Like I will die on that hill. Animal Farm was awesome.
Hill worth dying on, but okay.
Yeah, no commies. except for space, Star Trek. I love Star Trek.
Yeah, you kind of didn't mention that one right after that, but okay.
I got there.
Yeah, came back around.
Yeah, space socialism.
He has somehow mentioned communism and socialism all in like the same breath.
They are different things.
Yes.
People are confused about that.
Yes, neither one has ever worked. But that's just a fact. But it works in Star Trek, so I'm on board theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
But our attitude would have to change before we got the technology. So see, here we go. No, I'm about to prove my nerdiness.
Okay.
So a lot of
Okay.
people say that the only reason socialism works in Star Trek is because of the technology they developed. They developed the warp technology, the antimatter reaction, matter-antimatter reaction, and the ability to transmutate matter with the replicators, right? So they're in a post-resource society. So you don't have to believe in capitalism if anyone can have anything they need at any time, right?
Mhm.
Oh, crap, we're out of food. Well, we'll just replicate some food. Poverty is done. The problem is that we would have to change our attitude before that happened, because if someone invented a replicator today, they would patent it and make $1 gajillion and everyone would still be broke.
Right. It'd still be.
So the attitude
Mm.
change has to come first
Mhm.
before we get to the technology.
Well, don't see that happening.
No, it's not happening.
No.
No.
Nerd.
All right. So anything else before we get into more details?
No, I mean, that's highlights. Star Trek, Warhammer, books, superheroes,
Video games.
video games. Not as much as I used to.
Sad.
Like if I play a video game, it's at this point just to play with my friends. Like we do Helldivers.
Sure.
But like that's it. Me and Harrison play City Skylines sometimes. Harrison's my kid. City Skylines. He calls it City Game. Dad, let's play City Game. He likes to tell me where the roads go.
When I came over last time, the first thing Harrison says when I come in is, "Come look at how many people Dad has in his city."
Yep.
He was very proud of you.
It was only like 600 people.
Yeah.
He better be a city planner when he goes out.
He'd be good at it.
The road goes here.
Yep. Okay.
Put the road here.
Call me when you're done.
And I will say, 2 kids, they are playing Spider-Man video games, which is just
Yeah,
Good
Harrison cleared out a warehouse, one of Fisk's construction sites.
Yep.
I didn't even know that's what he was doing.
6 years
and
old.
then he was just
Wow.
like, that was a lot of bad guys. And I turned around and just giving him like the medals and stuff for clearing out the warehouse. And I was just like, 2 seconds ago, you were asking me how to shoot webs.
All right. So, before I go through my round of questioning, what do you guys got?
So,
I will say,
okay.
you guys have. I will say, you guys have probably known him the longest, aside from me. Nick, you probably known him since
Oh, yeah.
middle school, so 20 years now. Christian since college,
Longer
So,
than that.
13 years now.
I don't remember.
what?
It would seriously
How long
have to be
was
like 25
2007?
years.
Hold on. Let's pause. Pause the episode.
Nick and I met in
Do
3rd
math.
grade.
No, that's not true.
Yes,
I wasn't here in 3rd grade.
Are you sure?
I moved here in 97, which was 3rd grade. I don't. We didn't meet in elementary
Lawyered.
school then.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would have been in like band.
It was.
Picture is 5th grade.
It was 5th grade,
Yeah, it would have had to have been.
but it was like the end of 5th grade. So how many years ago was that?
Well,
That would have been.
like 25 years ago.
That would have been.
How old are you in
2000
5th grade?
That would have been 98. No, 99.
It's like 24 years. Yeah.
That was 1999.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Play.
Okay. All right. So, all of
24
that said-
years.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years.
20,
15,
yes.
20.
But
I don't know.
how long ago was 2007?
Almost 20 years ago.
That math.
17 years?
Sure.
I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah.
17.
Sure.
God.
We're not mathematicians here. So,
Corey, how long have we known each other?
how old am I?
I don't know.
32. Almost 32. So, what do we got for him? You guys know him. Been around a long time.
And yet I'm still on trial for not being sure if I'm a nerd.
It's just the way the world works.
Look, we didn't put you up to this.
Exhibit B. Exhibit B. Met in band. Met in band.
Met just out of the womb.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well.
Met at your mom's house.
All right. All that said. So, what is your earliest nerdy memory where you thought, hey, I might be a nerd?
Oh, he's still.
And those could be two different things, like just first nerdy memory, and then
No. I mean, I guess that's kind of the same. So I know it was in middle school ish because that's when you become like an actual person. Until then, everyone's kind of the same.
They're monsters.
I
Yeah,
didn't become a
Yeah.
person until I was like 22.
Middle schoolers are monsters.
yeah, but like in middle school, you start developing actual interests that are just yours.
Sure.
Like,
I feel like most of my interests in middle school were your interests.
well, it was sure.
Yeah.
The problem of the younger brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, no, but that's when I started doing a lot of the things that kind of made me feel nerdy. That's when I first realized that like Batman was like a comic book character, and like the media goes beyond
Oh,
the animated TV show.
sure.
So that's when I first read my first comic book. I know was like middle school ish. That was the first time we tried Warhammer.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the memory that I associate with kind of becoming a nerd was Halo came out.
Heck yeah, it did.
Halo came out, the Xbox came out, and like that was the first time it was like video games went from something you had. Like, I got a video game. I got an N64. It's whatever. Like Halo and the Xbox was like when it was just like, oh, this is a lot of fun to do. I want to spend an enormous amount of time doing this.
Yeah.
And it became something to do. It became like an activity. And that was also the first time that it was like friends would get together and that's what you did. Like, I mean, I know Mario had like multiplayer and stuff like that, but like not on the same level that Halo did. And you certainly weren't playing against each other, except like Mario Kart. But you get what I'm saying? Like that shifted a lot of things. And don't get me wrong, everyone was super into it, especially if you were a boy. But I feel like I had a level of excitement about that a lot of other people didn't. Like for a little while there, that is all I wanted to talk about. The Xbox, the Halo. That's about it. So, like, I do remember specifically, like, I'm sure I started to annoy friends about it and stuff like that.
Were you annoyed?
I don't think so. I mean, I was. I remember I got the Xbox. I know this isn't my origin story, but sorry. I got the Xbox Christmas of 01, which was right about the time when they came out.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because my parents don't spend money on anything. Like,
yeah.
They don't. And at that point, it was like, what, $300 to $500? Like it was.
Yeah, it was
an
still expensive.
console.
It was $300. I remember that.
Especially for 2001.
Yeah, 100%. But they got it for me, and I got NFL Fever. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Wow.
It's
I do
NFL
remember
Fever. But then Halo came out either soon after that, or maybe it came out with the Xbox. I don't completely.
It was a
remember.
launch title. Yeah.
And I think you got it first because I was a sports ball person. Like I wasn't a shooter, and for whatever reason, that game just clicked. Like it just made sense.
Yeah.
I got it. And I was like, I remember thinking. I remember we had this conversation in your room that it was the coolest thing ever that they made the trigger.
The trigger.
The actual trigger. And I was like, that makes sense. And it's been the same ever since. Like every game does that now.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
Things changed, and I remember I was super excited about it, and most people were on board. But then they would go do other stuff, and I was like, no. This.
Yeah.
So that's definitely when I remember, like, oh, because like they would do other things, like they would want to go outside and play the sports balls and stuff like that, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, yo,
we were outside a lot though.
We
did
are
stuff
the
outside,
generation
though.
of outside kids.
we did.
Sure. Yeah.
We did.
Yep.
That was probably another good hint when Nick and I spent a lot of time outside practicing with lightsabers.
And just like building stupid stuff. Like,
Yeah. Like we built all sorts of
spray
stuff.
painted. I mean, covered your parents'
Oh my god,
driveway and
the PVC pipe lightsabers.
PVC pipes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because I thought I was the coolest kid in the world because we had a digital camera, which, to be clear, was an analog camera, but they called it a digital camera because it had a port that you could plug into your computer and download like 360p video onto your computer. And I had software where you could draw in the lightsaber blade frame by frame. And I thought I was the hottest on the street.
Yes.
I do remember that.
The that orange cord Do you remember the orange? I don't remember what kind of cord it was, but it had that weird like end on both sides.
Mhm.
And like I remember, like you begged your mom to buy this cable, and I was like, I don't.
It was
this cable?
the-
I don't understand what this cable's.
What did they call that? It wasn't lightning. Fire cable, fire wire,
Yeah,
fire.
something like that. Yeah.
For what?
That was like, it was supposed to be the big thing. It was before USB really became
Mhm.
USB. And it was like between USB Gen 1 and USB, we kind of skipped 2, but straight to 3. I mean, we had 2, but it didn't do much. But there was like Firewire, I think is what it was called.
Mhm.
And yeah, most of them were like really bright, funky neon colors. But the idea was that it would just transmit tremendous amounts of data.
Mhm. From the camcorder into the
Yeah.
laptop.
I'm sure it was like 100
Or whatever it
megabits
was.
or
Yeah.
something like that. Like nothing,
Yeah.
but well, nothing today. At the time, though, that was like the coolest thing ever.
Mhm.
And it was, but yeah,
There was a time too where I'll ask this question. I'm assuming you're done on that.
sure.
Okay.
Firewire.
Movies are a big part of your life.
Yes, I do love
Um,
movies.
There were a lot of projects that you wanted to do over the summer or in types of breaks or things like
I'm
that.
still like that.
And a vivid memory that I have is, for whatever reason, we just wanted to take random scenes of movies and
Mhm.
just redo them.
Yep.
I remember specifically the one that we actually did was the Ocean's 11 scene
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
with Brad Pitt and George Clooney.
Yep.
And it's the one where I think, is it George Clooney? No, Brad Pitt is like, he's got his head down.
Yeah, I remember
On the
that.
thing.
Yeah.
And he's like watching this girl. I think they're in a strip club. He's watching this girl dance, whatever. And George Clooney is like, "So we've got 10. Do you think we need one more?" And George, he doesn't answer. Do you think we need one more?
Do you think we need one more?
I think we need one more. That's all we did. And again, he added in the smoke effect or whatever, and he had I think we had apple juice or something in the.
Yeah. I don't remember why we were doing
I
that.
don't remember.
There was a
we just-
reason, but I don't remember what it was.
I think there was a reason, but I think we just like did it because we needed stuff to do.
That was probably a big part of it.
I think we might have just been tired of Halo at that point, and we were like,
That's true.
we just need something because that was probably post Halo 2. So I think Halo 1 and 2 came out middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And I remember Halo 3 came out in college, but
Yeah.
that was, and then the church, whatever church that was on Capshaw over here.
Yeah,
We
that was
did
for an
that.
actual
That
school
was
project.
it was a project, yeah.
We got an A. You weren't even in that
we,
class.
We better have gotten an A. I was not in that class.
Yeah, it was
that
my
was
project.
that was an honors
Oh
English
yeah, your
class.
senior project. Right?
Yeah.
What was
yeah,
that?
it was Beowulf done in the style of Star Wars.
That's
It actually kind of slapped.
yeah.
It was
Wow.
very good. Lots of fun.
We need
Yeah.
to find that video.
I'm sure my mom has it somewhere.
Yeah.
We need to find that video.
If we find it, we'll upload it on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the Who's He What's It, the internet.
That's some views right there. So yeah, movies. You kind of skipped over that whole thing.
I guess because it's so big, I don't even think about it.
Okay.
It's all encompassing. It's like air.
Yeah.
List the things you need. You don't usually think to say air. It's a given.
But I did for the longest time think that you were going to be a filmmaker. Like I
Yeah.
thought that's what you were going to do.
I think in another life, I probably did.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I mean, like, it's never too late. Follow your dreams.
Just gotta make one film that makes a hit.
Um,
Who knows? Especially on the internets.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe one day we'll do it. But I mean, I gotta have peeps.
Okay.
But I mean, no. I mean, it's got to be easier than ever. Like the one of the benefits of technology is that as it progresses, the difference between consumer grade and pro grade gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And like, you don't need a $5,000 camera anymore. Like a sub $1,000 camera will give you almost as good a picture, especially if you rent a decent lens. Like,
We have 3 cameras.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. But yes, I do think there's another life where I did that. I think there's another life where I did a lot of things.
Mhm.
Doctor, lawyer,
Yeah. I mean,
Dexter's laboratory.
yeah. So here's parenting advice for everybody. If you do have a smart kid, don't be afraid to still try to push them into doing something. Because I kept getting told my entire life, Josh, you can do whatever you want to do. Josh, you're smart. You can do whatever you want to do. Well, that didn't help me decide what to do.
Mhm.
So instead, I went to school for 5 years to get a bachelor's degree, and it ended up being criminal justice.
Mhm.
Ask how much that's helped me.
How much has it helped you, Joshua?
Not much.
That sounded like a Bluey episode for a second.
I love
Mhm.
Bluey.
I do love Bluey.
It's great.
Yeah.
So going on with television and movies and things like that, I remember in college coming to you and Corey's apartment and being sat down, and
We sat you down.
yeah, you
Oh.
sat me down in front of your TV to watch Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, back when Doctor Who was good.
Like it wasn't even like, hey, we're gonna watch this episode. No, we just sat down and watched Doctor Who.
Hey, you got a week? Sit down.
Yeah. So, within your background with Star Trek, everything like that,
Mhm.
where did Doctor Who come in?
Doctor Who holds a special place in my heart because Doctor Who came in when streaming became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like, holy cow. I was thinking about this the other day. So that time period in like 2007, 2008, all those many years ago, well, Corey was there, so it would have had to have been like 2010,
11.
yeah, 2010, 2011. Like, holy crap, was everything different? And it was all changing right around that time. Like, I remember phones didn't really do the internet yet. Like, they could, but it cost you out the butt, so no one did it. Like, if you open the web browser on accident, you were going, no,
Yeah.
trying to close it.
Yeah.
And I remember it was Cha-Cha. You remember Cha-Cha? You could ask them anything.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and we cha-cha'd all the time in that apartment.
Forgot about the cha-cha.
Like that apartment actually holds a very special place in my memories. Like so many cool things. Like one of the best times in my life. Didn't know it at the time. Everything sucked. We were poor, but you know, grown-ups are always telling you that, right?
Florence sucks.
Like this is it sucked, but life didn't suck yet.
Yeah.
So like it was different.
Sure.
It had momentum. But anyway, but yeah, so like Cha-Cha was the thing, but that was right around the time that like Netflix became a thing. And that was when Netflix had the rights to everything.
Sure.
Like if you wanted to watch it, it was on Netflix.
It was the
1000%.
powerhouse at the
It was.
Yeah,
was
and
the
they
only option.
like they were the only ones doing it, and everyone had Netflix. And by the way, Netflix, that's how you stop sucking. Just get the rights to things again.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. Anywho, that was before they were trying to make their own stuff. So, but anyway, that was like one of the shows that I stumbled upon because at that point it was the end of David Tennant's run heading into Matt Smith's. And I was working at Books A Million at the time, nerd. And
or just needed a job.
yeah, and well, I mean, yeah, that too. But we were getting in all this Doctor Who stuff, like Doctor Who merch for days. And I was just like, well, I mean, I remember I was flipping through Netflix and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I watched the first episode and I was like, I don't get it. And I watched the second episode and I was just like, this might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then I made everyone watch it. It was like, have you seen Doctor Who? Sit down.
Well, you do that with pretty much everything you like.
I do. I want people to like, because I mean, I get really excited about things. I'm sure I'm on the spectrum. Because I get excited and then I fixate. And I know I do it. I am aware that I do it.
You're stimming.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like in my head, I'm just like, how could you not think this is the greatest thing that's ever been made, like in the history of ever? And then a month later, it changes. But then I still don't lose the excitement though, because then when the new season comes back, I like swing back around and get back into it. But yeah, Doctor Who was great. I didn't really quit watching Doctor Who until Matt Smith's run ended, and even then, I didn't like quit.
It got
harder to watch. And
it
harder
wasn't
to
on Netflix
find because then
anymore.
because that was right around the time Netflix started to go downhill. And I know it's not all their fault. Like it was a lot of places that made these shows saying, well, we're going to put it on our streaming site. Like everyone always forgets to say that when we start saying that Netflix sucks. So to be fair, it was a lot of people that made the content wanting to put it on their own stuff. But anywho, so yeah, it got harder to watch, and then Disney picked it up and it got easier to watch again. But by then I had like kids and a bigger job and like less free time, and life sucked.
Anyway,
yeah.
So, Warhammer.
Ooh,
We recently had an episode about Josh's Warhammer hobby. You can
I've
find
listened
that.
to it about 37 times.
So he's the views on that one.
Yep.
So
I literally am.
it's probably up in the top left corner of top right corner of this video if you're watching. Click that link and go watch that episode if you haven't seen it yet. But Warhammer. How'd you discover Warhammer?
Indirectly, it's Dad's fault.
Oh.
Hobbytown,
Hobbytown, USA.
Hobbytown,
I missed
USA.
That place was awesome.
Rest in peace.
It's in the shop, or it was. It was in the shopping complex where Stars and Strikes is now.
Mhm.
Which I guess at the time that would have been H.H. Gregg.
H.H. Gregg.
Yep.
So this was long enough ago that H.H. Gregg was still a thing.
Rip.
So fun fact, quick segue. Best Buy is like the only big electronics retailer that's still standing.
Mhm.
And so indirectly or directly, they put everyone else out of business.
Sure.
Even if it's just surviving. Yeah, if you out-survive the other guy, you put him out of business.
Sure.
They have a room in their headquarters in Indianapolis called the Morgue.
Oh.
And you can go in there and they have gurneys where they have the signs from all the businesses that they put out of business, like on
Wow.
gurneys in the...
See, that's what's going to have to change in order for this to work.
It's the most morbidly hilarious thing I have ever seen.
In kind of a way to space. Like, what?
Yeah. But I got to see that when I went on a training. They were just like, oh, we're going to show you the morgue. And I'm like, in what way is this a good thing? That's about to happen.
How does this double as a...
Yeah. I had a lot of questions. But anyway, once I saw it, it was pretty funny. But yeah, anyway, so that's one of the signs that's in there. But, so in the shopping complex was Hobbytown, USA. And I don't know if it's a big franchise or what, but I
think it was local.
Okay. I knew it was like at least regional because there was
Yeah.
more than one for a little while.
Sure.
But this one was owned by two brothers. And Dad wanted to go in there for train stuff because they had train stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in there and we were like walking around and looking at stuff, they did have like a tabletop gaming area.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't the whole store. It wasn't a huge focus. They had like a couple of boxes and like not even a whole 4 foot, like a 2 foot of paints that you could look at and stuff. I remember thinking that was like the neatest thing in the world. And they had 40K, which I thought looked weird, but they had the medieval one, the fantasy one. And this was right around the time that Lord of the Rings was coming out too. So fantasy was having a big resurgence. And I was just kind of like, I got some birthday money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I made Corey put some birthday money in on it.
He did.
Give me your money for my thing.
Kind of. And Corey did that a lot.
Yeah.
Like Corey regularly did that to varying degrees of success. And so we got that one and I painted it up and we played it and that was good. And then we realized how much money that was. And like I was still kind of young. I didn't have the hand-eye coordination. So like painting the things was really hard. And like I could see the pictures of what like other people had painted and I felt like I sucked. So then I didn't want to paint them. But I still loved the idea of it. And then I don't know, we just kind of forgot about it. We just sort of moved on eventually. But for like a summer and a half,
Yeah.
we were kind of into it. We played a lot. It was not until this last couple of years that I kind of fell back into it. And this time around, I was a grown-up with a big boy job and I could afford, not anymore, I could afford to buy some of it. And I realized at this point that 40K was definitely the cooler version.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Bigger
it.
guns.
Yeah. Well, the setting is cooler.
Sure.
Like fantasy is fantasy is fantasy. Like you can call it whatever you want. It's all the same stuff. But like 40K felt different. It felt unique. Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
I was just doing some research.
Oh, nice.
It's
very detective of you.
closest Hobbytown, USA. They still are
what?
in existence.
That's cool.
There's 105 locations.
Oh, what?
Wow.
It's actually way more than I thought.
Yeah, they just got acquired by a hobby like retailer. I don't know the name of. I don't remember. It's
Interesting.
Hobby something. They got bought last year.
Oh, wow.
The closest one is Kennesaw, Georgia.
Nice.
The only one in Alabama is in Mobile.
Oof. But we could go to the beach.
True.
Let's say there was one in Florence.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There was one in
yeah.
Florence. There was one here.
Well, look at that.
Mhm.
That was the one I
place.
remember.
They are all on the eastern, like almost Middle Eastern. They're all
Yes.
on the they're not on the coast, but they're kind of Indianapolis, Kentucky,
That
Ohio.
They're in the central time zone.
Yeah. Central West Eastern
Look at that.
area. Yeah. So they're still
Well, yeah, if that's still as awesome as it was when we went, go check it out.
It was a cool store.
Yeah.
But yes, that's how. Technically, it's Dad's fault.
Well, I mean, I remember a lot of Halo parties and Lego Star Wars, I think, was a thing there for a
Oh
little
my
bit.
god.
Just like
Uh-huh.
the our existence is wild. Like
Yeah.
just like when we were born, all of the stuff that has happened, you know,
Yeah.
like it's really crazy that
We are factually the coolest generation.
like and just seen the most stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like growing up through the 90s and just seeing the radical changes that were happening in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then moving into the early 2000s with .com and everything. And I don't know. It's just, we got our own Star Wars, you know, like our own
Yeah.
trilogy,
Two of them.
you know, yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. And Harry Potter was when we were in middle school.
Yep, that was for us.
With the books and all that. And then the movies came out too. It just, I don't know. We grew up in a really great time. And there was a lot of great memories with that growth growing up.
You know what I
Yeah,
remember?
but that-
I remember being taught in elementary school how to go to the library, open up the card catalog, and find your book.
Pull the thing out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Never had to use that.
Thanks, Dewey.
Not even once.
Appreciate it, Dewey. Thanks.
So music.
Music.
Do you still nerd on that? There's a point in time where music was very big in your life.
I mean, yeah. I did music for 20 years.
Almost did it
Yeah.
professionally.
Almost did it professionally. I blame college for that. For me not doing it. And it wasn't even the music part of it. I thoroughly enjoyed music
Mm-hmm.
while I was at school. And it paid for a lot of school. But I remember when I got into the first class for the College of Education. It was like a prerequisite class that you had to take before you could start taking your education classes.
Yeah.
And it was in this class that I became call it disillusioned. Because one of our first big papers was, and I'm sure Nick remembers this because I'm sure you had to write it, was describe your philosophy of teaching.
Mhm.
And so I did. I described my philosophy of teacher. It was magnificent, or of teaching. It was magnificent. It was wonderful. It was well articulated. And it said, in essence, that I feel like education focuses entirely too much on the nitty gritty and should focus more on core concepts and understanding. And no one cares when World War II took place. You can Google that. What's important is, do you know why World War II happened? And how that changed the world.
Mm.
That's my philosophy of teaching. You can look up the nitty gritty. As an educated person, you should know why and how. F. And it was because they didn't want my philosophy of teaching. They wanted the philosophy of teaching that is outlined in the book. And it's like, well, then don't ask what mine is. Ask what you want the philosophy of teaching to be.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized that this was going to be nothing more than absorbing and regurgitating and then moving on, which, to be fair, is very easy, especially if you're relatively intelligent. But philosophically, it bothered me to the point where I didn't want anything to do with it anymore.
Mm.
And I still feel that way about modern education. It's not about creating intelligent people. It's about creating test takers. And the tests are to determine how well you will function at a job. Screw all of that. That's terrible.
So if the educator in the room,
I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's I think that
He teaches the only studies, by the way, that I feel like are immune from this
100%.
degradation that has happened to modern education.
Mhm, mhm. I think that I'm not doing band anymore though.
Well, yeah.
But that's beside the point.
Congratulations.
Yes,
I know your feelings. Congratulations.
All parties involved are happy. All parties involved are happy. But no, I agree with you fundamentally because and that's listening to you say that also. I think you would be such a transformative teacher now, and the kids would absolutely adore you. Like if you were teaching the right. Jason just texted, I think. Okay.
We all buzzed.
Literally have to take this off because it's going to distract me. I think you would be a favorite teacher of so many people because that is what kids crave. That's the part that like so many teachers or not, I won't say teachers, but teachers who teach.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say teachers who teach teachers rather.
Yes.
They, especially once you kind of get into your niche and you're there. And it's exactly right. You're like you're just wanting. It's the same thing that we're trying to get kids to do, just regurgitate information.
Yeah.
My path to education is very different. So I did have to write in that class. I forget the name of it, but I know the class you're talking about. So I kind of got out of the education department at that school, and then I'm still working on my certification now. I just finished the last class, so I'm pretty much done with it. But It really is just regurgitation of information, but kids want the why.
Yeah,
that's what they want. But
that's not what it's about now,
right? But like because literally I have seen them do it. The kids will open up Google. When did World War II happen?
Yep,
got it.
Which, by the way, is what any adult can do.
100%. Like, I mean, I just looked up. Is Hobbytown still open?
Yeah,
like it's like you can just do that. Google's free, but but the kids want to know why because they always ask. Even in my classes where I don't go over historical information, they still ask why. Like, why don't I sound good when I sing? Well, this is why. They go, oh, bet I'll do that.
Yeah, and
then you learned a thing and you move on and you apply it. I agree 100% with you. However, I do think that the way that your mind works, you are desperately needed. Someone like you is desperately needed in education. Because
that's just terrifying.
Because number one, I think the kids would enjoy you. I think parents would enjoy you, and I think kids just want truth. They just want and it's not what administrators want to hear. It's not what counselors want to hear. It's probably not what superintendents want to hear, but that's what the kids want. The kids just want to understand and they want to know why. And that's it. That's all that they want. I think that's why I've been so successful because I keep it very real with them.
Yeah.
Very, very real with them. And it's not to scare them. It's just, you need to understand how the world works.
Yeah.
Because you're about to be in it. And, so I think you would be a phenomenal history teacher is the point.
Oh, thank you.
That reminds me of...
Doesn't pay well.
Not making money now. So
that reminds me of Dr. Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Taking his history class, RIP.
Dr. Nelson was an incredible teacher.
That's fantastic.
Dr. Nelson was so in love with history.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he taught it was like, yes, we took tests and things like that, but he gave us a list of 10 different subjects we would go over.
Mm-hmm.
The test would give you 5. And he was like, all right, tell me what this was in the significance of it in history.
Mm-hmm.
Again, did not give a toot about the dates.
Right.
Dates, nothing.
The dude's specific name, like, it does not matter.
Give me the significance.
What happened and why was it important?
Yeah. And I loved that. And that was probably like my best class I've ever taken.
I went back to him. I made sure I was in his class for part 2.
Mm-hmm. His history classes always filled up the fastest.
Yes, because people knew.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, rest in peace. I think it was a brain tumor.
Brain cancer,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Which, by the way, took 2 of my favorite professors while I was at school.
Yeah.
But this man, there was no textbook. There was a textbook, but it was... okay, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
Never once used the textbook.
Yeah. He didn't even use like his own notes. He just sat down and talked.
He would come in, sit down at his little desk, which was front and center of the room.
Yeah.
There were no posters on the wall. There was no...
He had his Rand McNally map.
Yeah.
That was it.
He would just sit down and tell everyone good morning and then start narrating history. And when he came back in for the next class, he'd sit down and go, where were we? Oh, yeah. And then pick up where he left off. And he did that.
Mhm.
And it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But that's when I realized that this is how it should be.
Mhm.
I learned more in those 2 semesters about just everything than I've ever learned anywhere else ever.
Mhm.
Probably in totality. Like those 2 classes have outweighed everything else I've ever learned in my entire life.
Mhm.
So no, absolutely incredible. Rest in peace.
And but the thing about it too, though, is like you don't. Now that I'm older, I kind of wish you had just thugged it out and like just like just
And
like,
looking
just
back,
dealt
I feel
with
that
it.
way too.
But like
Like I said, I could have choked it down.
well, but it's not so much. I'm glad that you stood 10 toes down on what you believed, because I think you've got to stand on what you believe in. But like I don't know necessarily that I teach the same way that I said I was going to.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not so much even that I have like grown up or whatever. It's just like, okay, that doesn't work. In
Right.
an actual real classroom,
Right.
Pack Doctor doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it's not at least in my classrooms, it doesn't. I don't work that way. I don't operate that way. So, but I say that to say that, I think that I think you would love it, and I think the kids would love it, and I think you would have your pickings of wherever the hell you wanted to go with that.
All of that is said, so let's get into some nerdy stuff again, and then we'll just wrap this one up. I'm sure we'll have a part 2 with everyone, because you still got a lot to talk about. But let's do some quick fire stuff.
Okay.
So, favorite superhero?
Okay. So
I didn't know what
My-
happened.
okay, well, no, this is important because it's a big deal in my life that I'm still trying to wrangle with emotionally. So my whole life has been Batman.
Yeah.
And I love Batman. Batman's amazing. I think he's the best written comic book hero of all time. Just because you get so many different layers and it changes depending on who's writing it. There's a million different versions of Batman. There's a Batman for everybody, right? There's a dark, gritty one. There's the greatest detective. There's the campy one. There's been a million iterations of Batman. I can't think of any other superhero that has happened with, right? They're always kind of fundamentally the same.
Yeah.
And this is too, but also radically different. So Batman's great. I love reading Batman. As I've gotten older, and especially once I had kids, I started to reevaluate everything. And that's because they love what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just part of sharing yourself with your children, is they're naturally going to love what you love. My favorite superhero is Superman now.
Oh my god!
And it's because when my
This is
kids
breaking news.
start
Breaking news.
idolizing a hero, especially if it's because it's the hero I idolize, I don't want my kids to be little Batman. I want my kids to be Superman.
I don't know. If both of your kids were Batman, I'd be okay with it.
Like living in that moral gray at all times.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Like Batman is a necessity,
Yeah.
and he is fixing a broken world by breaking it harder. Superman is trying to build a better world.
Hmm.
And he does that through example.
Sure.
And so the big blue Boy Scout, like to me, that's actually a very big shift. But yeah, right now I've been pounding down some Superman comics. I started when all the James Gunn stuff got announced.
Yeah.
And I just haven't really slowed down. And so no, Superman's awesome. So especially because of my kids, I want them to know that daddy's favorite superhero is Superman. And it's because he's a good guy. And he always tries to do the right thing.
Okay. Favorite movie of all time.
Ooh, of all time. It changes all the time.
Top 3.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, top 3: Casino Royale, Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
Is it going?
That's pretty good.
Is it
Okay.
going?
I mean, I saw it. I didn't think it'd be number 2.
It's gotta be like Indiana Jones in there.
Yeah, it's got to be just all time. Last Crusade.
Okay.
Which was not the Last Crusade.
It
Should have
was
been.
not.
Should have.
It was referring to Connery's Last Crusade.
He crusaded a lot more after that.
Favorite video game? of all time.
I'm going to cop out the Arkham series.
The entire series.
Yeah.
All right.
Since we've talked about this, favorite film score.
Check out our tier maker episode. over on our
It's
YouTube
actually
channel.
pretty good. I've also watched that one like a million times. My personal favorite score is Hans Zimmer. It's the best I got.
Was that face?
Can we like narrow it down to like
Top
Man
three.
of Steel?
Which
Top 3, Man of Steel, Dune.
Dune, really? Okay.
Dude, Dune slaps. I don't know why we have to keep going over this. Dune is amazing. Okay, and the third one isn't actually Hans Zimmer. Tom Holkenborg, Zack Snyder's Justice League is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Okay.
Like I don't know he was on coke, but if you listen to that, there's no way he wasn't on something. And it's like I don't know. You almost can't listen to it without the movie because it's insane,
Okay.
but it is very good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. If you were to cosplay, which we've been talking about doing some cosplay for Dragon Con, check out that video coming up soon. What would you cosplay as? No budget. I mean,
No budget. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Unlimited resources.
Yeah.
Space Marine.
nice. Nice.
I've been getting into chaos a lot too. So Chaos Space Marine.
Okay. All right. Before we wrap this up, any final questions?
There was top 3 states in the U.S. you'd live.
That's so random.
You said, do you have any more questions?
Tennessee, Montana, Texas. Not in that order.
Why Tennessee? I can see Montana and Texas.
Why Tennessee?
I loved living in Tennessee.
Oh,
It is the hot girl version of Alabama.
So I went to grad school in Tennessee. Very solid place to live.
No, I mean, like seriously,
no state
like
tax.
No
like-
state to income.
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
That's fantastic.
so like I love living in Alabama. I really do. For those who don't know, we film out of Alabama. I love it here. Once my boys are grown and they get to pick where they want to live, I will probably move back to Tennessee.
What part?
It's just beautiful there. Honestly, probably like the Spring Hill area.
Sevierville.
That's where I almost moved.
Yeah,
What?
'cause, like,
That's very
it's-
far from that.
because it's not. I mean, it's not super far. Like it's right across the border.
It's really convenient. For a lot of stuff. Like,
yeah,
easy
it
drive.
is.
But seriously, just driving from Huntsville to Spring Hill, the scenery change is dramatic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just the rolling hills, it's all heavily forested. You can still buy a lot of land relatively cheap up there if you wanted to. So no, I mean, I personally would love to live in Tennessee there.
Great schools too. Like they got it
Amazing
figured out.
schools.
Yeah.
Funny what happens when you have a friggin' lottery. Anyway,
Imagine what happens.
Yeah.
Wow.
but
Yeah.
looking at you, senators.
So that would be. So you said Montana, Texas,
Tennessee.
and Tennessee.
Montana because of Cowboys. Texas because of Cowboys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Texas is hot though.
Yeah, no. There are parts of Texas that I would like to see and spend more time in.
Mhm.
It is none of the cities where other people are. But and then Montana for kind of the same reasons as Cowboys. Like seriously, like if my kids are grown up and they're doing their own things, stuff like that, like by then my parents will be gone. Corey will be God knows where. We're talking like 20 years in the future, bro. I'm just being serious.
I can see you in Spain.
Just tan as hell.
So that's your first hint that it's not real. I don't even tan anymore. I just get red. But yeah,
Okay.
Texas is a distant third to Montana or Tennessee.
Okay.
I can see you being in Montana for sure.
Any more?
Big old
so
gnarly beard.
with your experience with Star Trek,
Yeah, we didn't talk about Star Trek.
I was gonna say I was really thinking we were gonna talk a lot about Star Trek, but it's okay. Part 2.
favorite series?
Next Generation. It wasn't even close.
No, that's
You could do better than that.
good question.
That's something else in our childhood. That was fantastic.
Good question.
I was gonna say captain, but that's also too.
Ooh, yeah. big captain.
Captain gets harder because they're all very good in their own ways, except Janeway. She was actually a war criminal and should have been relieved of duty immediately upon return from the Delta Quadrant. Literal war criminal. Like, Kirk was a man of action, plus it was just the 60s, so it was a great time.
Yeah.
Picard is factually the best captain. Like, in real life, he would be considered the best captain.
Sure.
Even though he disregards orders like a mofo. It's almost always for the right reasons, though. Scott Bakula just had a bad series. That's not his fault. He was okay.
I like how you're just going through all the captains.
And then Pike is awesome. Pike's biggest problem is that as cool as he is, he's not as interesting as the other captains. Like, we haven't gotten to see a lot of Pike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there hasn't been a lot of, and this is a big problem with modern shows only do 7 or 8 episodes, whereas old TV shows had like 27 a season.
Yeah.
So you got to do character-centric episodes, and like a lot of them. So we had a lot of just Picard episodes where he was literally the only character. We haven't gotten to do that with Pike, and I hope they get to a couple of times before the series runs out.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a bad captain. I think he's a great captain. We just haven't gotten to see much of him as a person. I know he likes to cook. He has great hair.
He does have great hair. Well, all right. In an attempt to not make this an hour-long interview. Yeah, we're getting close. We're gonna let you go.
Okay, bye.
We don't have enough to hold you. So, for now, you are deemed nerd. You are released.
He's literally wearing a nerd uniform
Yeah.
the whole time.
That could have been a
you got
facade.
them.
All right. Well, all of that said, thank you for tuning in. If you're listening over on podcast, go check us out over on YouTube, youtube.com/@eatsleepnerd. Click subscribe, click like, share it with your friends, leave some comments. Let us know what more questions we could ask Josh in a follow-up interview. But for now, Josh, what should nerd be doing?
Eat Sleep Nerd.
Eat Sleep Nerd! Take it easy, people.
See, I didn't draw it out. Eat Sleep Nerd.
Easy there.